Welcome to Let Me Know How It Is, a podcast about all things geek. We're talking superheroes, but specifically our favorite superhero video games. Please though, if you haven't done it already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Alright, so we have a first here on Let Me Know How It Is. This is our first video game episode, but specifically we're talking superhero video games. I'm Zach Slater.
I'm Frank Melman.
I'm Tommy Smithereens.
I'm Clifton.
Alright, so not a whole lot of parameters on this one, just any video game with a superhero in it. Past or present, home system, arcade, doesn't matter. So, let's talk about it.
I was talking with Tommy about this earlier. We were talking about what we were going to talk about video game-wise. And we started talking about your basics. I think maybe the earliest video game that I can remember was a game for the Atari 2600. That's how far back it goes for me. Was the old Spider-Man. It's like a tower game where you just fight the Green Goblin. And basically you remember this, Tommy, right?
Yeah, I definitely remember that. It was we literally had to web up diagonally up this like pixel building in order to stop the goblin while he drops bombs on you.
Yes.
And the building was like stupid high. Like it had no clear structure to it. It's just
I knew you guys would lose me, but I didn't think you would lose me this fast.
Yeah, I don't even remember this one.
Well, the funny thing is there's a live action. Tommy, do you remember the live action commercial for it? It was Activision, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah, good pull. Yes, it definitely was Activision.
So you have like a live action like cackling goblin and then Spider-Man, and then it would go into this pixelated, very pixelated, super. It was almost like if you're instead of being like a building, it was almost like you're fighting them on like a electrical tower.
Yes.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And you would web up diagonally, and then you try to dodge the bombs and get to the top, and then it would reset and start all over again. That was the entire game.
Like Donkey Kong.
Sort of.
Donkey Kong was more structured, but the tower was kind of closer to the end of the building. Like,
yeah,
you literally have to shoot webs like diagonally, and like, and it would like he would like rock back and forth if you wanted to leave the web hanging. Yeah,
right.
And then there'll be little people out of the windows that would try to mess with you too.
The other thing was you could easily run out of web fluid and not be able to climb.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you'd fall to your death.
Yeah, you would just fall. Like climb. Like all the idea of him being a wall crawler was out the window for whatever reason.
Yes.
What year was this game? Was this like at the end of the Atari 2600 cycle?
Probably came out in 82, man.
Really?
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, man. It was that long ago, man.
Wow.
Yeah. it was, if you ever played, it's like, what? I mean, I guess they tried to get the gist of it, but it's not like he could web bombs or anything. It was literally him just trying to reach the top. It was like King of the Hill type of video game.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. I would never have guessed that Atari would have been on here, but, I should have known better.
Sure.
No, I didn't even know. This is the first I've ever heard of this game. So, I'm trying to think about how I want to go about it. Do I want to start with my favorite or do I want to build up to my favorite?
Okay.
And just have a bunch of like honorary mentions.
Well, what's the first one you remember since we're already going back in time here?
The first one I remember was probably the Ninja Turtles game for Nintendo.
Right.
The first one that was impossible.
Right.
I remember getting stuck in the underwater level. Wasn't there like an underwater level?
Yeah,
that was level 2. I was good at the underwater level. I could beat that. I was the one that everybody passed the controller to for that. But I'll do a shout out to our engineer who he and I actually beat the game, but we had to tag team this game many times. I could do the water level. He couldn't, but there was a jump in the turtle van level I could never make, and he did it on his first try. Yeah. So, we've beaten it a few times, but
right.
Yeah, that was my first one, I would say. And I remember there was an X-Men game for the NES, and my brother was looking forward to it, and then he found out that it was all like top view the whole time, and he was like, it's garbage. I'm not going to pick it up.
But yeah, but looking it up real quick, I was wrong. It's not Activision, Tommy. It's Parker Brothers.
Was it Parker Brothers?
Yeah, Parker Brothers. Well, the Parker Brothers made this game. That's how long ago that was.
Jeez. Yeah, when they were the top dog of video game industry, I guess.
Yes. Did anyone ever play was it for Super Nintendo? Everyone ever play Spider-Man and the X-Men game?
Of course. Hang on, let's get to that though. Let Clifton and Tommy do their first ones also.
Of course.
And then we'll move on.
Very good.
And I'm trying to think. I think first one I remember Oni might be the same as Zach, the Turtles one on NES original.
Do you remember the cover for that? The cover was an actual comic book from the Mirage series. It was like they all had red.
Right.
They all had the red bandanas, which was like that was my first like introduction to the fact that they all wore red at one point. And I was like,
right.
I was like, why are they all dressed like Raphael? This is weird.
Somebody messed up.
Yeah. Tommy, what about you?
Yeah, I played tons of home versions of superhero video games, but for some reason, the one that comes to my memory that I have the strongest memory of seeing first was that one stand-up Superman game in which you fought like robots and like it's hard to explain. Well, it kind of sort of reminded me of the scene in Superman 3 in which there's a computer version of Superman that's shooting missiles at him.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody can remember, but
No, this doesn't sound familiar at all. What system?
It wasn't even the system. It wasn't the home system. It was a coin op in which you could play Superman and you would like fly through the area. You didn't even fight Luthor. It was like robots, and then you could have other people join in, but it wouldn't be Superman. It would be like color variations of Superman, almost one of those like Captain Marvel.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah,
sounds
man.
familiar.
Well, that makes sense for one story if you're going to do like the Superman Blue and Superman Red story
Right.
from Silver Age.
Oh, it was.
But I guess beyond that,
It was definitely way before that. But that's the one I clearly remember because you just had Superman flying over. I mean, you could just basically pummel asteroids or robots or missiles, and then at the end of the level, it do that 3D effect where he flies into the background and just goes up a building or something. Yeah, I remember that one.
It sounds familiar too, but I don't. It's one of those like I see it, but I don't remember enough about it.
No, I was too young to actually know what it was at the particular time, but I remember it being a coin op game.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember this at all. But okay, so that's the first ones out of the way. All right, so Frank, you brought up. Did you say Spider-Man and X-Men for the Super Nintendo?
Yeah, it was Spider-Man and the X-Men, and you fought. I think it was Arcade.
It was Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge.
That's it.
Remember? Right?
Yes, that's the one.
Yep.
Because basically, you fought. It was you didn't get to play with them all together. You had individual levels, right? That would, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. So it opened up. You had to be Spider-Man first.
Right.
Right. It opened up with like a Spider-Man level where you had to like find these. I don't even know what they were. I mean, they were kind of like bombs. They were like these blinking boxes.
Uh-huh.
And you had to collect all of those. And then once you did that, like the story mode started, and then like you found that the X-Men were captured and Spider-Man, like, I guess rescued them or could rescue them. Like, and then it was very like arcade. It like had like
death traps,
like games set up for everybody.
So was Cyclops? Who were the other characters? Gambit? No.
Yeah, Cyclops, Gambit, Storm, Wolverine, and then Spider-Man had some more levels after that also.
Okay, I never finished that game.
No, me neither.
It was stupid hard.
Yeah, it was.
Me neither, yeah.
It was really hard. I remember that one. I remember I got it for Christmas one year and played it. Same thing was I was excited to get it, got it, played it, and finally in frustration I quit because I just couldn't beat it.
I think everybody had 2 levels. So like I beat the first Spider-Man once you could pick whoever you wanted. I beat the first Spider-Man level there.
Right.
And the first Wolverine level, and the second Wolverine level, he fights Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Right. And like that was as far as I got.
Didn't he just, because I would get that level 2 and he would just run you over and there's nothing you could do.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
No. And you remember how dumb the Storm levels were? I don't like why in God's name they thought of making the game that way. We're like everybody else. It was a side scroller thing.
Right.
For whatever reason, for Storm, you were swimming.
Mm-hmm.
You're swimming, and your life bar was her air.
That's right.
Yeah. It was so disappointing. Yes,
because she spends so much time in the water. She's an aquatic character, so that makes sense. Yeah, I remember that game. The game was just, like I said, it was one of those. It was just a game of. Now that I think more about it, it's getting mad because it's just a game that was so frustrating.
Yeah, no, it was super frustrating. That game was really hard.
Yeah,
really, really hard.
Absolutely.
I can picture the box art for that one, but I never played it much. I didn't have a Super Nintendo myself, so I was just whatever my friends had I could play.
Right.
And that one I did not play that very much.
Well, I'm gonna tell you guys right now too that like my video game era like stopped after N64, so I have nothing on my list after that.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that right now.
So it's a frozen moment in time.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
We've got a research note on Tommy's Superman pick. It was the 1988 Superman arcade game made by Taito.
Huh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, once you see it, you'll remember exactly when you see it. Like, oh, really? And it'll be like vague memory flash when you look at it. But it basically was a side scrolling Superman flying beat 'em up. Again,
okay.
It's just made to eat your quarters, so there's no end in sight. You know.
Gotcha.
All right, so where do we want to go next? Because I got a lot of X-Men on my notes, and I got some Spider-Man on my notes. I don't know what you guys have, so.
Well, I mean, most of your dimension, I'm probably going to be able to chime in on, whether it's coin op or whether it's home version stuff. So go ahead.
All right, so for X-Men games, for me though, the one that I really liked on Super Nintendo was X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. That was the one that Capcom developed, and it started off like similarly to Spider-Man and X-Men, where you had to beat each X-Men's individual level first before you can commence.
Okay.
But then, like, after that, like, it didn't matter who you picked. You played the same level until the last one when they kind of did it again with the Magneto level. But so you could pick Wolverine, Gambit, Cyclops, Beast, and Psylocke.
Okay.
Was on there. Do you remember this one?
Kind of. What system was it for?
This was Super Nintendo. So this one had like a lot of cool bad guys in this one because after you did the individual levels where like 3 of them fought like Sentinels.
Mm-hmm.
And like the first level was like all Genosha, like everybody had like a different point of Genosha that they were doing. And then after that, there was like a Brood level. And then there was like, you fought like Tusk, and then you fought Apocalypse, and then there was an Omega Red and a Juggernaut.
I think I remember. And then at one point, there's one area which was like these mini Puck-like villains or versions or clones of them. Was that in it too? Like these diminutive things that look like Puck from Alpha Flight. You remember?
Close.
Yeah.
So okay, so they did like the same game engine they did later, like right before Super Nintendo wrapped up. They did like a Marvel Superheroes.
Okay.
Called War of the Gems, and that one had Wolverine, Spider-Man, Hulk, Captain America, and Iron Man. And like Wolverine looked like top to bottom exactly the same that he looked like in Mutant Apocalypse, like same moves, everything. But yeah, but you fought like evil doppelgangers of like Sasquatch and Puck and Daredevil, and
so
that was a cool game too. But what I liked about this game, this X-Men game, was that like you could use your mutant power whenever you wanted, but it was like a button.
Well, of course,
it was like a button mashup. It was like Street Fighter, so you had to do like the Hadouken to like do the optic blast for Cyclops and stuff. So I thought that was cool.
It wasn't just a special move you could do 3 times and then you were out till it cooled down.
No, because I was gonna save it, but I guess I'll get into it now. I mean, let's talk about the X-Men for Sega Genesis. Remember this one? Who played this one
for the Sega Genesis?
Yeah,
I never had a Sega Genesis, so no, I didn't play this one. I don't think.
Yeah, it's another blind spot of mine. I didn't own the console, so I just played whatever my friends had.
Wow.
And I don't think I played this one.
Is the combination one with Spider-Man and arcade or a different one?
No, this is a different one. This is an X-Men solo game that came out for Sega Genesis. I'm surprised, really. I'm the only one.
I know. No. I remember this. I remember exactly. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Are you kidding me? I've never been so disappointed in my life.
No, compared to the other junk that's coming along the way, jeez. To me, that was a decent one. The one that I thought was better was the when Capcom got the license.
Yeah.
When they had the fight 'em ups. But no, I remember you talking about. I like that one. That one wasn't that bad.
I hated the Genesis one. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I've never been so disappointed in my life. That commercial came on, and I'm watching that commercial, and I'm seeing Gambit and Nightcrawler and Cyclops and Wolverine and Iceman and Jean Grey and Rogue and Archangel. And I'm like, holy crap, you could pick so many of these people. And their shots were like, you got like 3 or 4 of them on the screen at the same time. And it was like the mythical, like, oh, they made like a 4-player X-Men game, right? In case in case anybody knew that kid that had like the weird like 4-player adapter thing.
Yes.
Which I never did, but I liked the option of it because we were all like, why don't they make more games 4-player? This would be really cool. And then so like my cousin got the game and then I played it and I was like, what the hell is this? I'm like, only Gambit, Nightcrawler, Cyclops, and Wolverine are playable. Everybody else are like characters you can call in to help.
Yeah, they come
like,
in and do the screen and leave.
I'm like, this is stupid. I wanted to play as Rogue so bad.
Nope. She just come in and punch it and fly away.
Yeah, she punched somebody and then like Archangel would fly across the screen 3 times and shoot like his little like darts from his wings.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is so stupid.
Yeah,
and then so that was another one where you couldn't use your mutant power as much as you wanted because you had a mutant power bar.
Yep.
So you could only use it limitedly, which, oh man, this is bringing me back, which Wolverine's claws like were part of the mutant power bar. Right? So Wolverine just went around punching things.
People. Yes.
And to make matters worse, if you use the claws too much for Wolverine, they had built in like a design thing where like to simulate him going on like a berserker rage, if you use the mutant power too much for Wolverine, like the computer would just take over and like would just go nuts and you would like fall in the pits and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is oh my god, that game made me so mad.
That sounds like the game that was for Nintendo Entertainment, which was just Wolverine. Anyone ever play that one?
I played that
for just regular Nintendo.
Just yeah,
regular Nintendo.
I did not play that one.
No, I never played that one.
That one you could play as Wolverine, right? And you could like kick and jump and do stuff. And then you could pop your claws, but every time you popped your claws, it would cause you to lose energy. Like it would slow you down. Like it would basically be like you're hurting yourself by using your claws. but you would fight guys, right, Tommy? And then you get to a certain point where you'd taken out so many enemies, you just go berserker, right?
You just go berserker rage. Yes.
Flip out.
You just flipped out. Yeah. I recall that mess.
It just started, just going on a rampage. And then you could have same sort of thing where you could call in people. It was Jubilee and Havoc and Psylocke, right?
I can't remember the additional characters, but it'd be characters closer to Wolverine. But
they used they used it wasn't like mouth that moved or anything. It was just like a picture of their artwork and something that represented them. But the artwork wasn't it Jim Lee's artwork?
I want to say yeah. I'm trying to think if Jubilee was in there because now I still got Zach's imagery of X-Men's Genesis stuck in my head. I'm trying to transition over to Wolverine,
right?
Because the reason why I like Zach's game so much is because you fought Mojo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Mojo was in that one.
Yeah, if you didn't get frustrated and stop playing by like I did.
No, it was a struggle. If you like Wolverine, you had to cry that day because they made him the weakest character.
So I see a note about the Mojo world in the Genesis game saying that there was a game mechanic where you had to manually reset the game to move on to the next level from Mojo World.
Yeah, it cheated. Yeah, it was some kind of like if you knew the character mess. It was dude, you had to cheat in order to get far in that game. That's how terrible the game was. But no, reason why you're right, Zach. It was stupid hard in looking back at it. But I was proud because I put in the time and cried the tears and fumbled through that crap. Yeah, no, rightfully so. But I'm trying to think with Frank's game. God,
the main villains were Magneto and Sabretooth. That even had on the cover. It's either Silvestri or it's Jim Lee, Wolverine leaping. And then it's got something that says, oh, here it is. I found it. It says, in an X-Men mega battle versus his arch nemesis Sabretooth. And LJN was the company that made it.
Huh.
It says, you can bring out his legendary powerful claws with a push of the select button, but every time the claws are used, his energy is depleted. So then he would have to consume food and beverages like hamburgers and soft drinks in order to get his energy back.
Yeah.
Who needs a healing factor when you have burgers and fries and a drink waiting for you?
Yeah, exactly.
He's like Jughead.
Exactly.
Yes.
he did have a healing factor in the Spider-Man X-Men game, and he did have one in the Genesis game. Right. I do remember that. I remember it, especially in the Spider-Man X-Men game. If you pulled your claws in, you could use the healing factor to a point. Like there was like a threshold it wouldn't cross.
Right.
But you just had to like stand still for a little while.
Well, it's like LGN also, and like they had, the other video game around the same time they had a Silver Surfer game too.
No, I don't remember this one.
I don't remember that one at all.
You never played that one?
No.
It's around like 1990, and it's almost like playing like Xevious, one of those type games where you're basically scrolling up and down, and you're basically like
shooter.
Yeah, like a shooter, but you're flying on the surfboard and you're moving around, and you can move up and down on the screen, and things are coming at you vertically instead of horizontal.
Oh, like Galaga?
Or it looks like Zaxxon from ColecoVision.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I just found a video of it.
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
But I remember it was one of the first games I had a code for that basically put you in God mode, and that's how I beat it.
And there
nice.
it is.
Yes.
Oh, codes. I remember
yes.
those.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like you needed something like that for most of those superhero video games because they just made them excruciatingly hard.
Right. Yeah, some of them did get like X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. I could beat pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was when I remember also like if you beat it on hard, you got like some extra stuff at the end for the ending. Like you saw like because the last level was like Magneto on like Avalon. They called it. It wasn't Asteroid M. They called it Avalon. And then like you saw the Blackbird come and pick you up essentially. And then you got to see like Bishop and Rogue and Jean Grey and Jubilee and stuff like that, which was cool. None of them were playable, which would have been awesome, but
they can wave at you.
But it was cool to see like the design in the game.
Gotcha.
I did like also, as much as I didn't like the Sega Genesis one, I did like the second X-Men game they made on Genesis, and I feel like that one they corrected like all the problems with the first one, where they had a lot more playable characters. You could use like Psylocke and Beast and stuff like that. And they even had like Magneto as a playable character after like level 3. This was called X-Men 2 Clone Wars. And this was like a fun one for me and my cousin because what we liked about it was one of those side scrollers, but it was a rare one where it wasn't always moving to the right. There were occasions where like you would have to like move like up and like to the left, and like the thing you were trying to get to was like going backwards and stuff like that. And I thought that was cool because so many of them are like just you start on the left and you're always moving left to right, left to right, left to right.
Right.
So yeah, so I wanted to give that game a little love because I know everybody kind of forgot about it. But the one I'm sure everybody remembers is let's get into the arcade game then.
Well, I had one more before we got to that, which was kind of cool that I thought, because we've been talking a lot about Marvel games.
Yeah.
Okay.
One game that I thought was pretty cool for, I liked it, was for Super Nintendo was Justice League Task Force.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh. That gets so hard for me. I remember that game.
I mean, it was just an early fighting game.
Yeah.
And you could play with the League, which I thought was cool. I mean, it wasn't like, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Arrow, Aquaman.
Aquaman, that's right. I was trying to remember who else was in that game. Because I was like, there wasn't a Green Lantern, right?
No,
not in that game.
Right.
And then there was, on the villain side, it was like Cheetah and Despero, which I thought was an odd choice even then. And then Darkseid, that was the main villain.
Yeah.
But still, long before you get to like Injustice 2 or any of those type, or even like DC versus Mortal Kombat, you get a lot. That's like one of your first early fighting games for DC characters.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. I liked. I remember being puzzled by the villains. I'm like, there's no Lex, there's no Joker.
Right?
What?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was basically licensing stuff at that time. Like they were licensed out to other things.
Okay.
I think I don't know for sure if that's the case, but even then, same thing. I wondered like why there wasn't more. I mean, Cheetah's a pretty mainstream Wonder Woman villain, obviously,
right.
but
She was in Super Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, Darkseid, was known, but not like he is now, I guess.
Right.
But still,
wasn't Green Arrow in that too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you could freeze people with a freeze arrow.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yep.
I vaguely remember.
Yep.
No, it was a fun game. I remember I always wanted them to make a second one and kind of up the roster a bit, even though like I really wasn't a DC person then.
Right.
I was a Batman guy.
That one came out in 95, it says here.
Yeah, there was talk of like, I remember at one point there was talk of a sequel with Martian Manhunter, and I looked at an article that said Fire as well.
Oh wow.
Okay.
And then they were going to include the villain. Again, this is a weird deep dive. Anyone ever heard of the villain called Shrapnel?
No.
Vaguely.
Okay. He's basically a dude made of metal scraps that blows himself up and hurls shrapnel and then reforms back into a big metal a metal guy that's, I think he first appears in like early or mid 80s Doom Patrol right before Morrison takes over.
Okay.
But again, it was even I thought, like, what a weird choice for a fighting game. You're just going to blow up and then wait for him to reform. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I guess.
So, but yeah, that one I liked a whole lot for basically playing like a Nintendo or Super Nintendo.
I think there was so much potential for fighting games that I don't know that many developers took advantage of that as much. Because I've been wanting a DC fight. Like, so I'd said in a previous episode where like I would make like toy lists growing up, but I would also make like video game lists. And like so many of them were like fighting games of like, I wanted like a G.I. Joe fighting game and a Transformers fighting game and stuff like that and everything. And I still, as much as I like Marvel superheroes and stuff like that, or Marvel versus Capcom, I always wanted like, can you just make like a bigger Marvel game instead of having Mega Man and all these other characters? Like, can I have Iron Man in here instead? Like,
sure.
And it was the same with like Mortal Kombat in DC. The thing to me was always, I was like, well, I feel like the DC people just want to get rid of all the Mortal Kombat characters and have more DC characters. And I feel like the Mortal Kombat fans like hate the fact that DC's in there.
Well, I think it depends on the character. Like, I know for a fact, like when the first Injustice came around, I definitely didn't need a slot to be taken by a Mortal Kombat character. I'd much rather have been another DC character. I think they do a much better job with the second one, with the fact that, like, for example, Raiden is a character that you can play obviously in Mortal Kombat, but by putting a different skin on it, you can play as Black Lightning.
Okay. I
don't mind when they do that, and they did the same thing for Sub-Zero. Same thing, you put a different skin on him, he's Captain Cold or Mr. Freeze.
Okay. That's cool, I guess. I mean, it's efficient.
Yeah.
You know what I think is a better idea? Just make a big DC fighting game. and make Mortal Kombat 6 or whatever they're up to.
Yeah, but I mean, NetherRealms did the game, so that's why it came out as such. I mean, trust me, all of us felt the same way when it dropped, but I think that was their caveat for throwing it in. What I found it weird was when they included like Hellboy and the Turtles in Injustice 2. In which they just used that as a jump off platform for anybody.
Was Spawn in there too?
There was talk of him going to be in it, but instead they folded him into like he's in the current Mortal Kombat.
Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Whatever, I guess.
Well, but again, in the current Mortal Kombat, like in the downloadable character stuff, it's supposed to be Spawn and Joker.
Yes. And then Spawn came up in Soul Calibur a long time ago. But again, that's them throwing a random character in a fighting game that you didn't come to expect.
Right.
Yeah. But Spawn did have a video game in Dreamcast a while back, in which they did his whole roster. I mean, you had everybody in that Violator, just anybody who could fight in that game was there.
That was a fighting game?
Yeah, it was a great one at that.
Oh no, I don't. I remember the Super Nintendo Spawn game, but I don't remember the Dreamcast one.
Oh no, the Dreamcast one was great. It basically had the whole McFarlane universe from Spawn on that thing. Yeah, huge
Overkill.
Yeah, Overkill was in there too. Yeah, or Overkill, excuse me. But the one I going a little bit further back. Did any of you guys played that The Adventures of Batman and Robin on the Super Nintendo?
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Yes.
Based on the TV show?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Looked like the TV show.
Was perfect.
That was the other part. Like,
that's a good one.
Really, really cool looking game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that game.
It's a good one. Yeah, I like that one a whole lot too. I completely forgot about that one when you're talking about it. That one I played, and then there's also the one that was, what's the character they brought in that they created just for the video game?
Oh, Sun Tzu or whatever.
Yes, that.
Oh, that was like for the GameCube.
Yes.
Yeah, I never played that one.
Yeah, that one wasn't bad either.
Okay. No, like I said, I was after N64, so I was out.
Yeah, it was decent. It's not a terrible game. It's just not great. So,
Zach, did you ever play the NES 89 Batman version?
I did. I wasn't very good at that one. I didn't hit my video game peak until Super Nintendo. But I remember the 89 one where Batman was purple.
Yes.
But it was the movie Batman. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I remember what was cool about that is the wall jump.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you could change through his belt. He used a batarang or a gun or some laser show the white people out in an instant. But if you get the opportunity on Twitch, people do speed runs. And that game is so hard, you'd be surprised at how short it is. But it was so hard, it made it seem longer.
I never saw that game beyond level 2.
Oh yeah, no.
You know? But what I liked about the Adventures of Batman and Robin on Super Nintendo was that it kind of took things that was cool about that game. You could do the wall jump in Batman and Robin, and you could scale walls and stuff and hang off of edges and things like that, which I always thought was cool. I remember when my neighbor rented Prince of Persia, and I went over there and I was blown away by what, you can hang off of things? This is crazy. So I was enthralled anytime that a game implemented that stuff. But the one thing that was funny about that Batman and Robin was Batman seemed to be running against the wind always.
I mean, his cape, yeah.
No, I mean, but I remember he moved very slowly, at just running across the screen.
Mm-hmm.
All the other characters went so much faster than he did, but he was a little slow moving along. But I mean, they had the same thing too, where you can go through the utility belt and use, explosives and have your knockout spray.
So it's just like a normal character inventory in another game.
Yeah, and you had to make sure that you selected the gas mask to bring it for the Scarecrow episode, and there was a museum level where that had mines set, so you needed your flashlight for that one. It was cool.
Yeah.
Isn't there a Riddler level too?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the maze.
That's it. The Minotaur level.
Yeah, it's the maze level, and then the second part of that is it's like a maze that's kind of like a virtual reality, so they sort of morphed the two episodes together for that one. We're the second one we're you're on the chessboard.
Yes.
And you're fighting the chess pieces and stuff, yeah. And there was a Batmobile level in there too.
Yeah, there was.
You chased after Two-Face's car. Yeah, one of my favorites. The Genesis one was also a little bit different, also very hard. But what was fun about that one was that it was 2-player at the same time. So somebody could be Robin.
Okay.
Which was another thing. For the Super Nintendo one, I'm I don't know why you guys didn't think of this. Couldn't make that work.
I'm seeing some notes from our engineer.
Okay.
About the Genesis Batman and Robin and the Super Nintendo version that were released a year apart and were basically completely different games. In that one adapted episodes from the animated series, and the other just had all new story.
Right.
Involving Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, Genesis Super Nintendo will do that all the time. Same video games. You would have The Lion King or Aladdin, both games, but will play spectacularly different, but just slightly similar. It was weird. You think you're getting the same game, but the mechanics play differently on one system than the other. Almost felt like it was a different game altogether. I remember that for the Adventures of Batman and Superman. Yeah, they did that too often.
Yeah, which, I mean, at the time, I remember it being a little differently. I remember that most games as a kid tended to be kind of the same from console to console. But now that I'm older, looking back at it, they switched it up where you had a different game with the same title much more often than I realized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no, they were both really fun. So where do we want to go next? Do we want to do our X-Men arcade game, or do we want to do a couple other home console ones? Because I still haven't brought up my favorite one yet. All right, so I'll get into it because my favorite of all time is obviously a Batman game, but not my favorite.
Really,
not my favorite movie.
Really, is Batman?
Yeah. So
okay, I'm surprised.
Wow.
Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo is my favorite video game. My favorite superhero video game of all time.
I remember that one.
Yeah. That was another one of those side scroller beat 'em ups.
Yep.
And the story for me here is like my cousin would come down and stay with us for the summer, and his birthday was over the summer. So he would always get like a video game for his birthday. And he was always like thinking really hard, like all summer, like what game should he get with like his birthday money that we could both play. And so we go to Toys R Us, and that Batman Returns game just came out. And that was when they had like the display set up where like some kid could like play the Super Nintendo that was behind like, you know, the bubble. You know what I mean? And we're watching this kid play Batman Returns, and he was like, I don't know if I want to get this. It's not a 2-player game. And we saw like all the different ways you could beat criminals up, right? Because like you could jump kick people, you could cape sweep them, you could use the grappling hook and like swing and hit them and stuff. And then at one point, the guy that was playing is walking, and he picks up one of the guys, and he throws the dude like into a window, and the window breaks.
Yep.
And we were like, holy crap! Okay, we're buying it.
Sold.
What more do you need?
Yep. No, really, really fun game.
Yeah, it was kind of like Bad Dudes or one of those type games.
Yeah, it was like Streets of Rage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but with Batman, that's what made it that much better. I remember. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
And the graphics are really good, and like the character was big. It wasn't like a small character, right? Like he took up a big chunk of the screen and stuff. And they did like they did like the kind of the 3/4 length where you could like move up and down the street, right?
Yeah.
You know, but then there were other levels where it would be completely profile, and then you would have to duck. And they would like mix it up a little bit like that. I remember. Yeah. And there was a Batmobile level for that, which was awesome.
Yeah. But like the background's really cool too, because you could see like, because the movie was set at Christmas time, like you'd see like all the Christmas stuff from the movie. I mean, they did a really good job with the look of it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was also like, and there were weird ones where occasionally you would come across a game where like the guy you're fighting, you would see the health bar of the bad guys you were fighting, but they weren't bosses. This was like the clowns from the Red Triangle gang that you were just like beating up people in the street. You could see how much energy they had.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it was kind of like, so you knew like when not to use your special attacks and stuff like that, because you're like, okay, I can, you know, roundhouse kick this guy, and he's over. Oh man, no, it's my favorite game. Absolutely my favorite game.
It's a good choice.
Yeah, very good choice. I forgot about that actually.
Doesn't even recreate the bit with the woman, the girl on the roof with Penguin.
Yeah, the Ice Princess.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's also they also recreate the clown that's holding Selena Kyle hostage before she's Catwoman.
Yep, absolutely.
And you couldn't beat him the same way, but you could shoot the grappling hook into the wall behind him and pull the chunk of the wall out and hit him as the first move.
Yes.
And I was just surprised about Zach's choice. I would have thought he would with the coin op from Konami as far as superheroes go.
Well, Konami did do this game though.
Yes.
Yeah, they did do this game.
Yeah, they did.
Oh wow. No, they were probably on point with that period of time, because when I think about probably the best is the when I went to play video games and I'd pour quarters into it endlessly was Turtles, man. Jeez.
Yep.
The fact that you could put all 4 of them at the same time.
Yep.
It didn't matter if like we did the special move that could knock back 4 of them and to take down their life. We still did it just to see the ending, to see how far we get, man.
I beat that in an arcade once with 4 other people, and other people giving us quarters to finish.
Yeah. Yes.
Just because they wanted to see it happen.
Yeah.
Like at an amusement park.
Cliff, did you guys stay in touch? Do you guys get together and
relive that moment?
Relive that moment?
Yeah, I should contact them all.
You and the rest of the Newsboy Legion?
Yeah. Yes.
I played that for the first time on Nintendo because that was what they did Ninja Turtles 2 as. It was Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, and like, so that was my first time playing it. Man, that's one of my favorite games of all time too. I love that game.
Yeah. That is the ultimate classic.
Oh my gosh. But there was a lot of them like that though too, I think. And it was like there was Turtles in Time that was like a follow-up to that.
Yep.
That came out on Super Nintendo, and then again, weirdly, like same game but different. There was a Genesis version called Hyperstone Heist. You remember this one?
I had never played
this one. Like I remember loving the box art for this. So we'll post the box art on letmeknowhowitis.com so you guys can see it. I remember, but this was like a weird amalgam of the arcade game and Turtles in Time, and like kind of its own thing. And I remember I was doing a sleepover with my cousins, which I'm saying a lot over this episode. But
Right.
but yeah, I mean, that was a big part of my video game time was like me and my cousins and stuff like that. And we were spending the weekend at my second cousin's house, and we all like picked games to rent and stuff like that. And I got Hyperstone Heist, and we had already played like all the Turtle games that had come out by that point. And so this one like smelled unoriginal because we knew, just looking at the level, we were like, oh, this is like the level in this game and that game. But looking back at it, it was kind of neat that it was sort of like a greatest hits album almost. I only played it that one time, so like that's why my memory's a little short on it, because we just played it that weekend really, and I never touched it after that.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm seeing it was a 1992 release right before Christmas. Was also produced by Konami.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember Konami did an X-Men version of the game where you can be Nightcrawler, Cyclops, was it Colossus?
The arcade game?
Yeah, where side scroll. Yeah, where was it Children of the Atom or whatever?
No, Children of the Atom was the fighting game. This was just X-Men the arcade game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which was the one based on the Pride of the X-Men animated pilot.
Yes.
Which is why Dazzler appears on the side of the arcade machine.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, she was playable too. Dazzler and Storm were the two female X-Men you could be.
I love Pride of the X-Men.
Okay.
I love Pride of the X-Men too. I love that game.
But we can't detour too much into the episode. So the game was good.
Right.
Game was so great, and I had moments where like camaraderie would build with strangers.
Yeah.
Like my story for that is we were vacationing in Myrtle Beach, and they all took us to like the arcade, which for anybody listening who doesn't know, an arcade was a giant room filled with video game cabinets that you could play. You could put quarters in.
Yes, you missed out, children.
Yeah, I know.
You definitely missed out.
I know. It sounds like heaven to them right now, but like, yeah. So this X-Men game had like 6 possible players, right? And so I'm playing it. I'm Wolverine, and my cousin's over there, he's Cyclops or something like that. And then like these other guys like show up and they're Storm and Nightcrawler and everything like that. And we're getting like really far into the game, and and basically, like, I use my last quarter, and I'm like, all right, guys, I'm out. And then the stranger next to me, who I've never met before, is like, no. He's like, we're going all the way. And he, like, reaches into his quarter. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out, like, a wad of quarters and just and it, like, drops them on the console. And he's like, go ahead. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. He's like, we're finishing it. Let's go.
Wow. And then he was like, did he say anything about meeting you in a van later?
No, nothing like that.
Okay, good.
He comes over every year for Thanksgiving, but no.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I was about to say, or go to Dave and Buster's, because that's what most kids go to see video games now.
Yeah, Dave and Buster's is about all there is now.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But in our day, you didn't play for tickets. You played for glory.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Indeed. Yeah. No tickets to be had that time.
No, it was not about tickets. Unless it was skee ball, and that was it.
Oh, that was a great game, though.
So did anyone ever play, again, in like Myrtle Beach or Ocean City or any of those type places? Did you ever play the side-scrolling Avengers, Captain America and the Avengers game?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to bring that one up, too, because I thought people forgot about that one.
No, that's a great one.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
It's like the Red Skulls put together all these villains, and then you can choose between Cap or Iron Man or Hawkeye or Vision.
Yep, Vision in the white costume.
Yeah, it's West Coast Avengers Vision.
Yeah,
basically, which I thought was an odd choice for the video game, but that's what they went with.
And they said their names really weirdly, deeply when you picked them out. Like every time you lost a life and came back,
Yes.
It was always like Captain America.
That's right.
Which sounds a lot like Bane now.
Yes. But some of the villains you could go up against were, let me see, where is it? It is
Crossbones. I remember Crossbones.
Yeah, definitely Crossbones. Claw.
Mm-hmm.
Living Laser. Whirlwind. Grim Reaper.
Ultron, right?
Yeah, the Mandarin and Juggernaut.
Oh wow, the Mandarin was in that game?
Yeah.
Damn.
But I think it's not the traditional. It's the blue costume one from around the time of when Psylocke comes back from in X-Men, the Jim Lee stuff. I think
the armored one
after the Siege Perilous.
Yes.
Yes, that's around that time.
Okay. the only thing that comes to mind with that was, you guys ever play the Punisher Nick Fury game?
Spider-Man?
No, I remember ads for this on comic books though.
Yeah, it was a side scroller.
Punisher and Nick Fury?
Oh,
I think I know this one.
You just basically shoot your way through everything.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
But also similar to the one that the Captain America and the Avengers 4-player game was. Anyone ever played Spider-Man, the video game? It was an arcade game too.
That I've never played.
Spider-Man, the arcade game.
In it you can choose between being Spider-Man, Black Cat, Hawkeye, or Namor.
Oh no, I remember this game. Yes, I do.
Namor seems kind of out of nowhere in that lineup.
It is a little weird, but it's one of in the same thing where you can basically fight. It's all in Spider-Man's universe, but you're basically fighting Venom, Kingpin, Dr. Octopus, Electro, Lizard, Scorpion, Sandman, Green Goblin, and Hobgoblin.
Jeez.
And then you face Dr. Doom in the end.
I don't remember this at all.
But it was an arcade game, and this is also that it was said the video game was on Sega's Sega System 32.
32X, you mean?
That must be it. Yeah. But I remember playing it in one of these arcades that you speak of, where where you played it was a stand-up game, side scroller, and you could basically choose between the four of them. And then I've only seen it that one time and never saw it again.
That's the same. Sound cool as hell.
That's great.
No, I remember Maximum Carnage. That was the Spider-Man game I remember.
Right.
From my day. Which, again, the sequel I thought was a little bit more fun because I was a two-player at the same time. So you could be Spider-Man and your buddy could be Venom.
Right.
As you're punching your way through crooks on the street and stuff.
Mm. But did that one, Zach, did that have, I can't remember. I was trying to remember what I was thinking about today. Did that one have codes that you could get back to where you were, or was it saves? I can't remember where it was in video game technology. Do you remember?
So I remember then there were passwords, basically.
That's what it is.
So every time you beat an episode, you had to have or you beat a level, you had to have a pad and paper with you to jot down the password so you can move on.
The olden days.
Again, children, at this point in video game technology, there was no such thing as, I'm going to put the game on pause and go for a walk and then come back 20 minutes later and then play the game. Not to mention the fact there wasn't saves, right?
Some of them did. I remember Mario World had saves and stuff like that.
But it took a while to get there.
But it took a while. Yeah. You had to pause the game and turn off your TV so it wouldn't burn the screen, and you would go outside and play and then come back and then you pick up where you left off.
Right.
And hope your mom didn't turn it off or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or throw away the piece of paper.
You yell, I got the game, pause, Mom. Don't touch the TV in my room. Or whatever.
Right. Well, then, another game that wasn't a 4-player, but I thought was really good was I enjoyed playing was, again, getting back to fighting games, was the Marvel Superheroes game. The one that was basically loosely based on Infinity Gauntlet.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was the one that was because Children of the Atom came first. And that one, I was waiting for Super Nintendo to have a version of that. And that was kind of like when Super Nintendo was on its way out. And it ended up coming out for the Sega Saturn.
Right.
When that was a thing. You remember that? But they did an all X-Men fighting game first. Mm-hmm. It had a Sentinel that you could pick that took up the whole screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really, and you could be like Spiral was in there and stuff like that. I remember the Marvel Superheroes one then which opened up to Spider-Man, and you can have gem powers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what evolved into Marvel vs. Capcom. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Capcom did the research, and the reason why some of the characters are no duh that they would have put Wolverine or Magneto or whatever, but apparently from Children of the Atom, it was Wolverine, Juggernaut, Magneto, and Psylocke were the most popular, and that's why they made it into Marvel Superheroes.
Okay.
So
I would have picked Gambit all day.
But yeah, I thought that game was really cool. I thought it was a really cool idea to try and make some kind of version of that long before we got to the Marvel Cinematic Universe or Endgame or any of that stuff. You had it there in that game, which was pretty cool.
Do you remember Tournament Fighters?
Which one?
Turtles?
The Ninja Turtles fighting game?
No.
Yes.
Another one that had a different version. It had an NES version, a Super Nintendo, and a Genesis version.
Mm-hmm.
right? And Super Nintendo one, like the last guy was Karai. It was like Rat King and Karai were the bosses, but it had Shredder as a playable character in the Super Nintendo version. In the Genesis version, though, I was jealous because you could pick Casey Jones playable. Casey Jones and April were playable in that one, but not on the Super Nintendo version. Tournament Fighters was also really, really good.
Oh, real quick, getting back to Marvel Super Heroes, one thing I really loved about it was the background when you finally fight Thanos had the background of like what was the fate of some of the characters when they all battled Thanos in the comic. Do you remember that?
I never got that far.
Tommy, do you remember?
Really? Yeah, I do. I definitely do.
But you would see like statues of like Thor and other characters in the background, and that's basically
they would be stuck in stone. It was the scene when which where like half the heroes were already stopped. Basically,
yes.
Yeah, I remember that. I definitely remember that.
And basically, it's supposed to evoke the idea that you're the only hero left to fight him.
Yes.
Which was pretty cool. So, again,
that was great.
That was awesome. Loved it.
Yeah, that's what gave us like hour-long tournaments of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. We played that incessantly we changed up the 3-man battles in order to beat each other. Like we spent days in talking mad smack between each other. My brother used to cheat and double up Iron Man and War Machine because all it was a damn color palette, but it was the same guy used twice. And like, scour the screen by using both of them and maxing. Oh my gosh. And then at good measure, he'd do like Dr. Doom, or it would just be insane mess that he would do. I think I got frustrated off of that crap.
Was that one when you could use teams in that one? Was that right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
3-man teams. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that. My friend had Marvel vs. Capcom on the Dreamcast, and that was when you could have like 3-man teams.
Yes.
And I was weirdly good with Cable and Iceman.
Yeah, Cable is another cheat. Yeah. Oh my God, Cable's such a cheat. Jeez.
Yeah, because he'd pull out a gun that was like the size of a character.
Yeah.
And annihilate the screen. It would give you a seizure watching it.
Yeah, and you were jumping at the time he pulled it out. Jeez. I remember that game.
And then kick you with his tiny feet.
Yes. And then put your remains in one of his pouches.
Oh, very nice. Oh, man. So I have another beat 'em up game for Super Nintendo, obviously, and we should probably talk about some of the more modern ones too, because I know we
haven't made it into this millennium yet.
We haven't made it into we're just a bunch of old fogies talking, but I think this is a forgotten one.
Okay.
Death of Superman.
Yeah.
Another side scroller beat 'em up and everything, but what was really cool about that? So you fought Doomsday in like level 2 with Superman, and then you would die. Right? Like you would beat him and then he would get up and then you both would die. Like you couldn't avoid it. And then what happened was the other characters like Steel and the Eradicator and Superboy became playable for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought like that was one I didn't have it. Like I rented it a bunch of times for Blockbuster. It was really good.
Right. No, I'm just laughing at the Blockbuster reference. But yeah, I agree with you. It was a fun game. I enjoyed playing that one too.
Yeah, I wasn't a DC guy then. I wasn't a superhero guy. I wasn't a Superman guy yet then. But that game, I thought was really, really fun. And you could like kind of fly with him. Mm-hmm. Like you could walk around on the street and like fun punch guys, but you could still kind of like hover. I remember too. And like every Superman had like different things they did well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to throw Death of Superman out because I'm sure many people forgot about it. Did you ever play Superman 64, Frank?
Oh, that's the one where you basically have that. It's basically based on the animated, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, is it the one that sucks or the one that's good? Because there's a couple of Superman animated ones that are actually one's supposed to be terrible, one's not. Terrible.
I think this is the terrible one.
I never played the terrible one.
Okay.
Yeah, 64 is the bad one, and then there's one where that's much better. It's like on the PS. I think it's on the PlayStation too.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
That one, that one's pretty cool because there's one part I remember particularly is you get in a fight with Parasite, and Parasite like half your powers, but it's a precursor to stuff where you can like pick up cars and throw it at each other, while you're trying to battle. You use your heat vision and stuff. It's actually a pretty good game. It's not a bad one at all. The one that's supposed to be awful that you can't get past the first screen, I've never played.
I rented that one too, the Superman 64, and I was so excited for that game because I was a Superman fan at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like reading in game magazines and like Game Pro, they were talking about like that like anything on the screen was going to be able to be a weapon. Like you could pick up parked cars and phone booths and stuff like that. I was like, that sounds awesome. It sounds like a Justice League Unlimited fight.
Right.
And I just remember flying around only in that game. Like I don't remember a single bad guy I fought in that game. I know that game's like really horribly reviewed today, but man, I was so excited for that one. Okay, so does anybody have a game that's come out in the last 10 years?
Or 20. We haven't made it to the last 20 years yet.
Sure.
Or 20 years.
Yeah. Oh my God. The Arkham series? You kidding me?
Okay.
Those are pretty good. Those aren't bad. Those aren't bad.
You guys got to go into more detail for that, because this is like I said, like I haven't played these games. I've watched people play them, but I haven't played them.
You want to start with the first one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, the first one is great in just how it tiers it. It almost feels claustrophobic when you go into Arkham, in which the different areas that you go into Arkham are like, it uses detective. Well, basically, it just uses Batman in every aspect that you can think of. Either he's trying to solve a puzzle, or he's basically pummeling people. But the pummeling part I like because they separate from the game, in which there's like what is it? Rounds of Joker criminals that come to beat you up.
Yep.
And what's nice about it is you have Mark Hamill doing the narration of it, in which he's trying to taunt Batman while he's trying to beat up his henchmen.
Right.
Yeah, to me that makes it that alone gets your money for the game itself.
Well, that and the fact that Kevin Conroy is Batman too doesn't hurt. That is
no, not at all.
It's the two of them doing the voice for the game, which is pretty great. And then what's the next one? Arkham City.
Yeah, where you actually can grapple through the city.
Yeah,
that's the one that took the Grand Theft Auto kind of thing and made like the city like completely like roamable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
It starts off the great thing about it though, Zach, is you start off as playing as Bruce Wayne. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You play as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Until for a little bit. The opening bit is Bruce Wayne. Basically, the main villain is not giving anything away. The main villain is Hugo Strange, and Hugo Strange basically puts Gotham into lockdown and basically turns a chunk of Gotham or most of Gotham into Arkham City, and that's where all these roaming gangs of villains, as well as like different villains, set up their different little fiefdoms around. And then he locks up prominent people, and one of them he locks up is Bruce Wayne, and then of course it's a great escape with Bruce Wayne getting to his Batman stuff.
Yeah, which is cool as hell.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
it's a great bit.
How many of these did they make now?
3 technically,
4.
and then Origins, which is sort of in the vein of the other games, but it's not quite from the same. It's not the same developers, or not the same studio. I can't remember for which one. Do you remember, Tommy?
Yeah, it's not the same studio. Montreal Studios does it, I believe, in which they take the blueprint of what Rocksteady? Yeah, Rocksteady, and they make their own game. I mean, they make, I guess, the game that they wanted to make, but they do it with their studios, which is not as good as Rocksteady.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of glitzing and complaining with Arkham Origins.
Okay. Is that the one with the Arkham Knight?
That's the 4th one.
Right.
That's the 4th one. Okay, the 4th one is like, and that's the one that was made by the good developer, right?
Right.
Yeah, Rocksteady.
Okay.
As much as people don't like discount Origins, there's a pretty cool point in it, like when you're counting the Joker's origin, that you play as Red Hood in the Red Hood costume.
Yes.
That's pretty nice, right?
It's very nice.
But what I was going to say about one of the things I like about these games, along with the fact that you have Kevin Conroy and you have Mark Hamill, you do get the opportunity to instead of just being you can unlock different costumes and stuff. So at one point, if you want to play as the blue and gray Jim Aparo Batman in this game, you can do that. Or if you want to play like the Zurin R or like the Batman 66, you're playing in this really grimy, realistic Gotham, but you're Adam West Batman is fun. Is fun to do, or and you could. Oh, that was the other thing about Arkham City was you could switch off, play Catwoman in different parts too.
Yes, that was so good.
And one of the best things I think people have ever done with that game was they modded it so that they switched the mannerisms for Batman and Catwoman.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty cool to see just how when Batman's prancing around like Catwoman.
Right.
So it's a good illustration of the male gaze.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
When you see it inverted.
Yes. But yeah, Arkham Knight's great because like it does bring in the Batmobile for the first time. So you can do it. There's a lot of cool missions you can do with that, as well as ways to get around. And you can launch yourself out of the bat. What's one of the best things about it is you can launch yourself out of the Batmobile and then glide to different parts of Gotham City.
Yeah, it shot him straight like 50 foot into the air, just gliding all around us.
Yeah,
I'm sure the comics are going to take that too. I hope Robert Pattinson has that scene. And
yeah. But I mean, I think overall they do a really good. One of the other things that I like about those is a lot of times there's a ton of Easter eggs, right, in those games. And I remember reading that someone found in the first one, Arkham Asylum, plans someone had for Arkham City.
Oh, yes. Really?
Long before there's anything mentioned in the game, the game coming out.
Well, didn't Dini write both of these games?
He had I don't know if he wrote all of them. Did he write all of them, Tommy? Do you remember?
No, not all of them. I think he wrote the first two, though.
I think.
But they laid the groundwork for the next one in each one. So right. I think the development for Arkham Knight took longer than expected. That's why they gave it to Montreal Studios to do Origins as to what they wanted to do, too. But sorry, just to take it to another game real quick, we got to mention Spider-Man, right?
Oh, yeah.
Spider-Man is just wow.
Yeah.
That's arguably the best Spider-Man game I've ever played on the PS4.
Sure. I mean, it's by far, I mean, it's one of those, other than like, as a long time Spider-Man fan, outside of the movies, it's definitely the best experience I've had as a Spider-Man fan in a really long time.
Yes.
Interesting. Go more into that. Yeah.
Well, they just basically, the story is really well told. The voice acting is really good. They do a nice job of layering. It's a reshuffle of stuff you've seen before, but even without getting to like your top tier villains, it still tells a really compelling, like, Sinister Six story, wouldn't you say, Tommy?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And you think it's even done in a way that you get to see some characters that you're like, okay, well, I surely, like, it's almost like Spectacular, where you get to see a lot of characters, you're like, I know full well what this character is going to be, and you're surprised at how well they retell that story, retell that origin of that character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The action's really cool. It's done. The action's very much. I remember seeing it. Tommy and I were discussing when we saw the early stuff for it, that it looks a lot like Arkham City or Arkham Knight or Arkham Asylum, but it works. The movement and the flow, the fluidity of it works so much better for Spider-Man than it does Batman. It makes a lot more sense.
Right. And and they're actually like modeled off of like a real city too. Like they actually like most likely use real maps of New York instead of having to like build it completely. Like in the Batman games.
Like, I think we mentioned it when we talked about the city episode of the podcast. There's a point where like you can go to Avengers Tower, you can go to Doctor Strange's house.
Yes.
Okay.
Some
Baxter building in there and stuff, and
I don't think it is it?
Isn't the Freedom Force? Is the Freedom Force
for Freedom's Plaza?
I want to say yeah.
Yeah, for Freedom's Plaza might be the one that's in there, but not the Baxter building.
Not the Baxter building though.
But yeah, there's definitely references to other parts of the Marvel Universe. There's, like, again, lots of Easter eggs for Spider-Man stuff. You can switch out costumes and do, like, they had the movie costume, they had the Iron Spider, they had the Iron Spider from the movies. There's
did they have the paper bag on his head, Spider-Man?
Yeah, I was going to say that was my next thing, is they got the paper bag Spider-Man from the symbiote story. But I mean, they don't even get to like the Goblin or Venom or Hobgoblin or any. I mean, there are big villains in it, but what I liked about it most was it's a story first, and I want to say it's who wrote it? I think it was Christos Gage is the one who's the one that did it. I can look that up real quick.
Yeah, I believe he was involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to be real quick, to be certain. But I think he's the one that did like a lot of heavy lifting on the story, and it really is story forward, and then all the other stuff around it, and it's really, really good.
It is.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it like on Twitch and stuff like that, and it looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing. Like I think my coordination and my reflexes have slowed so much that I probably wouldn't be able to handle this for more than 2 minutes.
It's got some of the best. I would say there's some of the best cutscene fights I've ever played in a long quite some time, and stuff that you'd have to do in the moment. Wouldn't you say, Tommy?
Oh, definitely. Hands down. The cutscenes, how they incorporate people.
So, I thought it was a really, like, for that kind of stuff, there's some scenes that you just, I was blown away with how cinematic they were and how well they work. Huh. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's not him?
No, it's not him. I thought it was, but I guess it's not. Because the game, when I look at it now, it's coming up, but it's not coming to as comic book people or people's name that I recognize. So
I see, I'm looking at another reference site, Marvel Spider-Man PS4.fandom.com.
Okay.
And they list the three: John Paquette, Benjamin Arfman, Kelsey Beecham, and then they also list Christos Gage and Dan Slott, which would make sense.
Okay, so there's the two that I thought. I knew it was Christos Gage, but I wasn't sure if it was. I couldn't remember if it was Dan Slott. But I mean, deep dive wise for Spider-Man, they get so much of it right, and they do so much of it so well. So I can't wait to hear what they haven't announced a sequel, but I'm hoping they announce it sometime soon.
No, a sequel's coming. Let's be honest.
No, I'm sure of it. I think this game did really, really well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I've been away from the video game, world for a long time. But when this comes into my world and news stories about this game are in my news feed,
right?
Like I think it's gotten pretty big.
I believe Sony did buy the studio that made the Spider-Man game, so now Sony owns that gaming studio. So there's definitely going to be a sequel.
Okay.
Sony, I think, saw the value in them.
I just remember also, like, I think it might have been on like PlayStation 2 or something. They did like a really cool Punisher game where it was like sort of like what we were talking about with that Superman, where like anything in the room, it's kind of like a weapon and you can do all kinds of horrific things to crooks and criminals, like moving down the street and stuff like that. So
I remember playing that game. That game was partially based on Ennis's run, not the Marvel Knights stuff, it's Marvel Knights, but not the more. It was more the early one, the early miniseries, the kind of cartoonish stuff when they first bring him back from when he's dead.
Okay, yeah, like the Welcome Back Frank stuff and the stuff after that, not when it went to Max.
Right, because it's like Monucci and those stories, and like I think the stuff with the polar bear and all that stuff is in it, but it's not. It's definitely not the heavier stuff comes later in Marvel, Marvel Max stuff.
Okay, so really quick to wrap up, I mean, we talked about a lot of our favorites and everything. Is there a character out there that we never got a chance to play in a video game that we would love to have seen a game made for them?
We got a little bit of it in the Marvel Superheroes game. I always thought it would be kind of cool if they had given us, at the height of like Infinity Gauntlet, they given us a Thanos game. And the idea of Thanos trying to collect the gems and then fighting heroes along the way, I thought would have been really cool, but we never got it, obviously.
That would have been fun.
For me, to go off what you said, there was a lot of speculation and hopefully rumor behind the next Rocksteady game being, instead of Batman, it was Suicide Squad. I would love to see a Suicide Squad.
I know that there's been Superman rumors for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that still could happen, but no one knows because it's been like 5-6 years since Arkham Knight that they have not produced a game. So everyone's waiting, just to see what they're going to produce next.
Well, there was rumors about Superman. There was rumors about Justice League possibly being like a formation type game of like you play as different characters in different parts. And then I was going to say one of the things that was in Arkham Knight is a point where you're playing as Batgirl and you see, isn't it in Starro who you see, Tommy?
Yeah, they definitely tease it as to the next thing coming. So everybody thinks it's going to be a Justice League type of centric game as opposed to Batman, because in the Arkham series, you play as Nightwing, you can play as Robin, you can play as Batgirl, you can play as Catwoman. So I think they've mined that as much as possible.
Right.
Hell, you can even play as the Red Hood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you add Damian to it now and like Azrael.
Ace.
Yeah. Oh, I would love Ace.
Because that was right. Also, the other thing is in Arkham Knight, you could play as Harley Quinn.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And you and a version of it, you can play as the Joker too.
Yeah.
But I think they did Azrael. I think Azrael was a playable character.
Did they do him really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hell, yeah. At this point, I would expect Ace to be a playable character.
No Commissioner Gordon yet, though, huh? Nobody's made him playable yet?
No Bullock.
Okay, I would love Bullock.
No Montoya.
Clifton, you got one?
I mean, I can't think of any characters that haven't had games, or at least appeared in games at this point. Because I played the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game on Switch, which is just like huge cast of all playable characters that you just put together in little teams. And I mean, like, I love that one because you can make like every team you ever imagined there should have been. You can just make them a team in this game and start playing them. That's what I love about it. But like some characters that I don't think had any games outside of movie tie-ins or like Fantastic Four. And like I would have loved a Fantastic Four game just because like they're, you know, you can have them face any type of challenge in all sorts of worlds, and their powers are just so different and diverse. I think it would have been fun. They did have 2 games that tied into the Fox movies, but I never played those, so I don't know how they were.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they made one already, but I'm trying to think if there's been any Flash video games out there.
There was recently, within like last year or so, there was a video released of it was almost like someone took the Flash and put him in Grand Theft Auto, where it was an open world Flash game that was being developed that never got passed. Not like with the Ultraviolets or anything, but just along the lines of like Central City. Okay, there was a Flash game you could play as Flash or Kid Flash, but it never came to be.
No, but that was exactly kind of the thing. Like, just from an engineering perspective, I would like to see kind of that open world where you can take him anywhere, but just see how it would work. I think the game developers could make something really, really cool over there. And even though there's been a ton of them and a lot of them have been my favorite games ever, I would love to see an open world Ninja Turtles game too.
Sure, that would be cool.
With the skateboarding down the sewers.
Yeah, of course. You can go into the sewers. You can go into like the Statue of Liberty, the TCRI building.
Right.
The junkyard, fight Super Shredder. All that stuff. Yep. That'd be cool.
That warehouse where Sam Rockwell tries to give us cigarettes in the first movie.
Yeah, where they're blasting MC Hammer. Yeah. Oh, I would love it.
I'm seeing there was a Flash video game released in 1993, Sega Master System. It was only released in Europe.
Really?
Oh, wow.
No, I never heard of that. Interesting. Okay. All right, so I guess that's it for video games then. Once again, I want to remind you guys to check out our website at letmeknowhowitis.com, where you can find all of our past episodes and also our episode notes section that contain links and examples of some of the things we reference in each episode. Also, you can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/letmeknowhowitis and follow us on Twitter at our show's initials LMKHII. That's it for this one. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.